Well, I guess we can begin with something up and up to be up. Okay.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's not supposed to. It's let's just say happy birthday to everybody that wanted you to wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
This is for you and you and you and you and you and you.
A lot of
who you are.
A lot of people wanted happy birthday, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay. Where do you get your ideas from for these videos, by the way?
Just my own interest, you know. It's true, I love Magic the Gathering, and I'm always thinking about it, and I'm always thinking about ideas for videos, and I just usually, not always, write them down, and then when I sit down to write scripts, I pick ideas, and patrons pick some ideas for me from the list, and it's all just running through my head all the time. I talk about it a lot with my wife.
Do you sleep at night?
Not very well.
How about your wife?
She sleeps like a rock. She could go to sleep like a switch.
That's lucky her.
Yeah.
Lucky her. Let's have another question here. Since Magic's origin, what do you think was the single most important change to have happened to the game? That's a good question. How long has it been around anyway?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
Well, we were watching a video from 1998.
Yes, we were.
It started in 94, 96, something like that.
98.
You don't know what year it started in.
Well, that's what I said.
Right. The best thing that Magic ever did, the smartest thing that Magic ever did was...
I didn't ask the smartest, not the best.
No, the best.
The single most important. Let's be specific. Not the best, not the worst. The single most important. It could have been the worst.
The establishment of the Pro Tour and the idea of different types of gameplay, such as Standard, Modern, Legacy, and such. That probably has been what has kept the game alive these many years, whereas other collectible games and things have all faded out. I would say that's probably one of the smartest things they did.
You're probably right. You are the professor.
Community college professor. Technically, I'm instructor.
Well, you're the constructor professor then, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I profess
to construct.
But my job title is instructor.
Really?
There's no such thing as a community college professor. Like, job title. You can't be a professor.
You made that up yourself?
I made what up myself?
Calling yourself the professor.
Yeah, well, I didn't make it up. I am a professor. If you wanted to, I have a whole video about this. If you wanted to address me formally in the classroom, you would refer to me as professor, but my job title officially at the college is instructor. But everyone's is. There's no such thing as there's no professorship at a community college.
What?
But it's still accurate to say that my job is a college professor. Does that make any sense?
No.
Okay. Can a lieutenant captain a ship?
What?
Can I put a lieutenant in charge, a lieutenant in the Navy, right?
Yes, yes.
Can a lieutenant
in the Army too?
Can a lieutenant be put in charge of a naval vessel and be and that lieutenant would be that ship's captain?
That's right.
And those officers would have to address that lieutenant as captain.
Yes.
Is that lieutenant's rank captain?
He's the captain of the ship.
But is his rank? What's his rank?
His rank is lieutenant captain.
No, it's lieutenant.
I'm just teasing you.
That's me with professor.
Okay, professor, you win. See what we have to put up with when we're not on camera? This goes on all the time. This is the real thing. Now, I have another question for you, the one that's really I have thought about. I was watching, as we were, the 98 Olympics there.
Is this a question from the pad or a question from you?
From the pad.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to add it to the pad later, then it'll be a question of the pad.
So it's not a question from the pad.
Is the lieutenant a captain?
Yes.
Then this is a question from the pad.
Okay.
Are we clear on all this? If they were having I'm wondering what happened to Magic from 1998 until 2016.
Oh, got a minute?
I have lots of time.
What do you mean what happened to it?
We got a minute, Charlie? Charlie says yes.
What do you mean what happened to it?
Well, it started out, it looked as if it was popular. You all right?
My phone's ringing.
Excuse us. Cut.
Good night, Miles. I love you. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow and we'll watch Dinosaur Train and Feist. Okay, I love you. I love you. I'm going home tomorrow. Okay, I'm driving home tomorrow.
We know who's the boss in that house.
Ask some real questions.
That was a real question.
What was
I really
the
meant
question?
that.
I don't know.
The question was this. If it seemed when we were looking at the 98 version of it, that the game was flourishing.
The game is bigger than it's ever been now.
Now, what I want to know, I understand that. What I want to know is what happened to those 10 years.
Oh. So there's no solid answer to this, but this is my theory. Back then, Magic was largely played by teenagers and people in their maybe young 20s. Not entirely, but overwhelmingly. But an amazing thing has happened is that all of us who were teenagers, such as myself then, have grown up. And the game is still applicable to a young adult, someone in their late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, 40s. And so what's happened is that its audience, its demographic, its customer base exploded because all these former customers returned to the game after college, after getting jobs, and you have disposable income, and suddenly this is a really fun hobby and pursuit. And so why Magic is at its biggest now than ever is that when I was a teenager, more or less, with exception, only teenagers played, or young adults. And now everyone on the spectrum can be playing from ages 13 to, like 40, 45, 50.
What's the oldest person you've ever seen play the game?
There was an old guy, actually, that showed up. I should learn his name, because this is incredibly ageist of me to be referring to him as an old guy. I apologize. I'm not ageist. I'm not. You don't think I'm ageist, do you?
Do I think ill of you?
You're like
No.
89, 30. What are you? No, actually, a man of many years recently had a bit of a presence at a Pro Tour, and it was a talking point that, it's happened in the opposite, where like every now and then a 10-year-old girl shows up doing very well in the competitive scene for a minute. They've never really, to my knowledge, I don't follow the Pro Tour too closely, I don't know what the youngest player ever sort of thing is, but you see him pop up, and a fellow more in his years, I hear, showed up and did quite well. And people were impressed that someone 30 years younger than you, probably.
Everyone is 30 years younger than me. I have another question for you, which I got right next to the last question.
All right.
With all your knowledge and expertise, and certainly it's recognizable, everyone knows that, why aren't you playing the game professionally?
I have no interest in playing.
Money.
Well, that's the reason. I have no interest in playing the game professionally because you don't really make that much money playing the game professionally. There's not enough money in it.
So you're interested more in the merchandising than the game?
I wouldn't say that.
Well, it seems to be what you're saying.
The life of a pro is a very harsh one. I have nothing but the utmost respect for a pro player because it sounds like absolute hell. And I'm just I can't do that. It's like you end up having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go in and play Magic until, 10 o'clock at night, and it's grueling. I'll tell you the answer. It's because it takes, if you become a pro, it's no longer a hobby. A hobby is something for fun. A pro is something that you do professionally, and fun has to come second. And I don't want to change the game for me from being something of joy to something where it's like, well, it's not about joy, it's about numbers and success. And I don't want to make that change. Now, I also doubt that if I did want to make that change, I am skilled enough to be a pro. These people are brilliant. Like, the worst pro is better than me at Magic. So also, I don't have that, aptitude.
Why do you think that is?
I couldn't be a pro basketball player.
For the joy?
What?
For the joy of it?
No, it's a complex game. You like backgammon, right?
I do.
Could you be a professional backgammon player?
Not a chance.
Why not? Is it the joy of the game?
And I don't enjoy losing.
I don't care. That's part of the problem.
You don't care if you win or lose.
I mean, I want to win.
You cannot be a pro if you don't care.
I want to win, but I don't get upset when I lose.
You're one of the few.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. Well, Professor, a lot of people here love you. They love your story and they love where you come from. What do you think that is?
Because I'm a player first.
Wait a minute, you just said you don't like to play.
No, I did say what are you talking about? I don't like to
get
play.
real joy out of it.
I said the exact opposite. I said all I get is joy out of
Have
it.
you been listening to this?
I said I don't want to be a pro because my love is for the game first. And I think that makes me a player first. I'm a player of the game
I
first.
misunderstood that.
You don't listen to me.
No, but I try to pretend to.
No, you don't.
Well, I pretend to try to.
Go on.
Thank you. Well, let's see if we can find something less controversial than our love for each other.
Okay.
It says that Mr. Lesser writes in,
Yeah. What's the person's name?
and lesser,
N. Lesser.
and lesser, and lesser, and lesser, and
Right.
fewer and fewer. I want the podcast to get down to business, but it doesn't. Why do you think that is?
Because the purpose of the podcast is not to get down to business. This is like you're watching a comedy show and you're saying, why are they always joking around? I want to hear about the news. The purpose of the podcast is to not get down to business. So if you want it to get down to business, that is not the podcast for you. The purpose of the podcast is joy and fun and silliness and casual amateur enjoyment. And if that is not your cup of tea, that's fine, but that's not the podcast that we're making. It's a podcast of not getting down to business and being silly and giggling.
Well, I can certainly qualify for that. I tried to be funny. See, when you try to be funny, it never works. Okay, let's see. Could you tell me whose name this is that I'm trying to ask a question about? Jean-Pierre Labouchon. American Indian, indigenous. America would be awesome with shaman and tribal. I don't know what this man's talking about. I'm going to pass him by.
Why'd you say American Indian? Indigenous.
That's what it says here. I was just reading it. Here. America would be awesome with shaman and tribal.
It does say American Indian Indigenous. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. All right.
Did you think I would read something that wasn't there?
Just calm
No,
down.
no, I have a right to be excited. My integrity is at stake
No, I mean,
here.
like-
My integrity is at stake
You're
here.
really hamming this up.
I'm trying.
Try not to.
Okay, well, my integrity is still at stake.
Oh my God. Can you just read me a question?
Okay, can I
So
read
far
him a
you've
question?
read me all of
Do you
one-
put ads in your magazine?
No,
Why not?
because
That's an answer?
yes,
That's not a professorial answer,
it can be.
but it happens to be.
Next.
What card? Now we've got the business. What card, in your opinion, whose opinion are we going to get if not yours? What card, in your opinion, has the best flavor text? And before you answer that,
Reparations.
preparation.
The flavor text is, sorry we burnt down your village, have some gold.
What does flavor text mean?
So cards do things, and that is the text. But sometimes, because there's art on the cards, they also write text that is not part of what the card does, but it is there for flavor. So it talks about the world of Magic the Gathering or the card in terms of its story and stuff. So they call it flavor text. It's just there for flavoring. And so on the card Reparations, the flavor text reads, sorry we burnt down your village, have some gold. It's reparations.
Thank you.
Do you get the joke?
No, but I'm going to laugh anyway.
You didn't laugh.
I was going to laugh, but I decided not to be funny. Not that it
You're
wasn't
doing
that
a great
funny.
job of that.
I try, and I appreciate the compliment. Okay, let us move on. Wunderbar, it says here. Wunderbar. You have German audience?
I've got a lot of
How many audiences do you have?
113,000. I
you
told
keep
you that
track
10
of them all?
times today.
You keep track of them all, but they didn't know.
Yeah, they
This
do.
is not for me. This is for the great public at large.
What are you doing? You are really hamming this up.
I'm just being me. I'm a ham.
Oh my God.
That's why you invited me.
Can you read we've done 2 questions now.
We have a wonderful conversation, though.
What's the question?
Well, I can't even understand this one. Maybe you can understand it. Maybe we will get something more Lovecraftian later. After all, the whole cultist and madness stuff hasn't been used, and Andrazi feels more like Zerg than anything else.
Move on.
Thank you, because I don't know what.
It's not a question. Look for something with a question mark. Or a sentence that begins with what or how or why.
Have you ever seen someone cheating during a game?
I don't believe I have, no, but that just means that they were probably good cheaters.
Do you know how to detect certain types of sleight-of-hand tricks during a game?
No, I just basically tell myself that if I'm being cheated at Friday Night Magic or a casual in-store event, that whoever is cheating me is such a pathetic loser that they need to cheat at a casual game of Magic or a Friday Night Magic game, that they're welcome to that win. If I knew they were cheating and that they needed that in their sad little life so badly, I would buy them a pack of Magic cards, you know?
You wouldn't announce them in front of everyone?
I could care less. I just, like, it's not like they shouldn't be cheating, but they have bigger problems, and it's just, it's just like, it's just so sad and pathetic. I can't bring myself to be outraged by it.
We're having a poker game later. Would you like to play?
No.
You play poker?
No.
You don't play poker. Just as well. If you don't mind people, if you wouldn't call anyone who's cheating, you shouldn't play poker. Let's see if another question with a question mark. I'm trying to decide whether I should buy into Cube or Modern. I, after having saved and selling things from an old hobby, have roughly $1,000 to spend.
Okay.
And that's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's an okay amount for Magic.
For Magic? It's just not a lot for Magic?
Could buy you a Modern deck.
How much would a Modern deck cost?
At least $1,000.
Really?
Well, some of them less. Some of them maybe 500. The cheaper budget ones.
If you had to design a card.
You didn't ask what was the question?
I asked you the question.
What was the question?
Well, I don't know. What was the question? I got lost now.
You.
It says I'm trying to decide whether to weigh the merits of having a good cube versus having a tier 1 modern deck. What would you recommend, or at least have me consider?
Well, if you buy
That's
a tier 1, here's the thing. If you buy a tier 1 modern deck, then you will have a tier 1 modern deck. If you buy a cube, you will have a cube. Which will you play more? Which will you enjoy more? Are you someone who wants to go and play modern at Friday Night Magic, at in-store events, at GPs and PTQs and things like that? Then the cube will not allow you to do that. Are you someone who has friends over frequently or gets together with large groups of people at your card store or plan to be? Do you socialize and draft from a source frequently, or do you plan to be? If so, one modern deck will not give you much, unless, of course, all those people have modern decks, but the cube will allow you to take out that cube and have everyone draft from the cube. They're very, very different things. My recommendation is to go for whichever one you would use and enjoy the most.
Well, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
I have both.
If you were going to design a card,
Yeah.
any card,
Yeah.
which card would you design?
The card I would design would be a 0-cost card, and it would read, "This card's effects are active from your sideboard. If this card is included in your sideboard, it does not count towards your sideboard's minimum." And it would read, "Mana burn is in effect for this game. If this card is in your sideboard, reveal it, and mana burn will be in effect for this game." That would be the card. Basically, I would design a card that I could just put in my sideboard and mana burn is in effect, and it wouldn't even count as one of my sideboard slots.
That's interesting.
Did you know you did a video where you ranted about mana burn? Do you remember ranting about mana burn?
You talking to me?
Boy, you're hamming it up.
You said that already.
Yeah,
Do you
like
know,
3
do you know
times.
that you said that already?
Do you remember recording the video about mana burn?
Do you remember saying I hammed it up already? You didn't answer my question. I'm the moderator here.
He does not remember recording the video about
He's
mana
right.
burn.
I did?
You don't remember
How did I do?
a word of it. I think you did pretty well.
Well,
That one did
what
better
more do
than
you
it.
want?
Yeah. Your memory to remember that you
Oh,
did
I
it.
would like to have that too. If you can find my memory lurking about here, be sure to point it out to me. I'll grab it really quickly. We have a sad kind of a write-in by someone who claims that he's very lonely. And the reason why he's lonely is because he's in a state of intellectual frustration because of the non-intellectualism of the West. And do you think that's so? That there's a lack of intellectualism related to the game?
I would wait, related to Magic?
Yeah.
It's chess with math.
And the people who play it.
Now you have to be smart to play Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like, if you're going to try and quantify it as intellectualism equals you are interested intellectually in the things I'm interested intellectually, like maybe this person is thinking, oh, well, most Magic players I know aren't into politics, and maybe this person is equating intellectualism with using your intellect on politics. Well, maybe that might be accurate, that I don't see a lot of like politically active talk at the game shop, but that might just be my game shop. But I don't equate being intellectual about politics, say, or literature or something like one. You could be intellectual about chess and know nothing about politics and literature and still be intellectual. I think people who play Magic are intelligent. Obviously, not all of them, but I think this person is probably imagining that the stuff that they consider intellectually stimulating, many of their friends or compatriots are not intellectually stimulated by. But I don't know, like they'd need to be more specific.
He probably doesn't have any friends. That's why he's so lonely.
That's not going in the video.
What?
That's not going in the video.